We are live, Point3 live stream Wednesdays. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a wonderful day. If you're not, we're here to make your day better. Point3, we got Spider Brando to the left. We got myself, Hero Scroll. And then also off camera, we do have Uncle Lou. He's in the chat saying hi to everybody, dealing with you guys, just kind of pushing whatever the conversation goes through. But before we get started, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to us here. Follow us on our social medias. Join our Discord. Tomorrow, we have a big live stream, or not a live stream, a watch party for Loki season 2 finale. So super exciting. But before we get into the deep dive this week, which is the current state of the MCU, we do have a little bit of news this week, not too much, but we did get some big news. First off, one that was not in our prep, but one that I do want to talk about really quick. Spider Brando, did you see the strike has officially, or as of midnight tonight, will officially end?
I did not see that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the Actors Guild made a tentative deal with the companies, and they said that as of 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. Sorry, it'll be ended. So that'll mark, I think it was like 118 days on strike. Very excited for the actors to be getting, to be getting their what they're owed. Let's be honest.
100%. Now, do we think it's gonna fall through again like the last one did? I hope not. Because wasn't it like I feel like a couple weeks ago it was supposed to end.
I think
And
so.
I think the studios dropped it. So that's good if it's over.
Yeah, I think so, but the fact that they announced it as it's officially, I think that means that they have something more solid.
Good.
We have,
I want content back.
Absolutely. But we have Dylan Pickle Funko in the chat, someone who is part of our Discord, a loved member. He's asking, what are you more excited about, Loki season finale or the Marvels?
It's a tough one. I'm going with Loki.
I'm gonna have to go with Loki as well.
I'm excited for the Marvels.
Yeah.
But I'm way more excited to watch Loki with people in Discord as well. I think that'll be a great time.
Yeah.
And seeing where all of our theories either come true or are massive laughing stocks to the MCU. So,
man, we don't need Point3 to go, 2 for 804. We don't need that.
It's just growing and growing.
It's in the opposite way that we want. But our very own Funko Lou said Loki as well. So you know what that means? That's the Point3 certification. Point3 certified.
Where is?
Oh, there. No. Where did it? Oh.
I swear I'm clicking that one.
Come on. We can't move on until you find it. Where it at?
No, it's on screen right now.
Oh, there. I saw it. My bad. On point with Point3. There you go. I wasn't on point, but you know what is the rest of the news? Spider Brando, hit us with the news for this week.
So we got Blade. It's rated R, confirmed by the director. It's gonna be cool. Hopefully they're doing some the re-scripting for it is working wonders. Fun fact, that movie was supposed to be out last weekend if their original phase 5 or release schedule came to fruition. But instead we got the Marvels, so it's an interesting change up.
Yeah, very interesting. When you heard that word, did it change your excitement for Blade?
Being rated R?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kind of figured it was going to be rated R, just based off of the old movies and just Blade's character as a whole. And it's just like just knowing the Blade character, it makes sense that it's rated R. So I think it lessens some doubts that other people may have had and like concerns that some may have had. So I'm excited. I'm still interested how they tie everything together with Blade and pull from the Eternals post-credit scene and maybe some Werewolf by Night connections. But I don't know, the whole Dark saga or the whole Dark MCU universe, whatever, intrigues me a lot.
Yeah. Rome's is saying hopefully Blade will be good. And I agree. And I think ultimately, even though it's been a long time and getting kind of like bad updates after bad updates for Blade, like delay after delay, writer change after writer, and director after director, I think they're finally starting to nail down what they want with it. And hopefully, like Rome said, it's good. Because I think Blade needs to hit. I don't think it needs to, but it should. At least
100%. So switching phases from one connected universe to a potential another, we got news of the Zelda live action movie.
I'm excited.
That's got me excited. I've never been a full like into Zelda. I still have to finish Breath of the Wild. But it's cool to see Nintendo trying to, I don't know if it will connect to Mario, but I think it's cool. MCU, baby.
MCU. We've been saying it since what? Back in May? Around there? May, June. MCU. That is the next big cinematic universe, Nintendo. And I'll be honest, I think it's a very smart idea they're going live action.
Yeah, I can see that.
Smash Bros. Over Secret Wars. Ooh.
That's hot.
Ooh. I mean,
if they do like,
if they do it right,
Super Smash Ultimate or like,
see, that's one where you can let your expectations go wild. It'd be crazy.
Pull Minecraft Steve in there.
It'd be crazy. All right, so for anybody in the chat, just a really quick question. If you are a fan of Zelda or if you've played any of the Zelda games, and obviously, SB and Lou, this is for you guys as well. What is there any story or game in particular you would want to see them kind of adapt?
I don't have much Zelda lore knowledge, so I've never played like a full game through. So
Gotcha.
I will not be making myself look like a fool and saying a random game. But from what I hear, Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild are some of the best games out there, so that'll be cool.
We got a Link to the Past or Ocarina of Time. Those are two very good choices. Probably two of the best in the series. I would say they need to kind of do what Mario did and kind of just take it all, put it all in there. Does Game of the Year count? I mean, yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. They need to kind of put everything, put a little bit of Majora's Mask, put a little bit of Link to the Past, put a little bit of, maybe some of the more obscure titles that people are fans of. Just kind of like make it a celebration of Legend of Zelda in the same way that Mario was a celebration of Mario.
I still gotta watch that Mario movie also.
You haven't seen it yet?
No, dude. I'm so far behind on so much stuff.
What?
I still haven't watched Ms. Marvel. It's been
Spider-Man, man.
I still haven't been Spider-Man 2 yet. That's what I'm most sad about.
Oh, well. You'll get there. Barbie or Super Mario Brothers?
I see. I haven't seen Barbie either.
I'll be honest. I like... I had more fun with Barbie, but I did like both, so it's kind of hard to say. Spider-Man. No, what else we got? What else we got on the news?
Oh, so news.
Off the old
The
animated
Marvels
series.
previews, or the Marvels pre-release previews have come out, and I've seen a lot of mixed things. I've seen there's a post-credit scene that leaked, apparently. I have yet to watch it or come across it because I've stayed off of TikTok all day. I haven't heard any reactions or like if it's a good one or not, so I'm trying to stay unknowledgeable of it until Saturday. But it's debuted at a 59% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's not off to the strongest foot critique wise, but we don't really like Rotten Tomatoes anyways.
No.
I've seen a lot of other companies or reviewers giving it high praise, anywhere from like 4.5 to 5 stars, or I've seen also someone give it like 2 stars, and the New York Post claimed it's the worst MCU movie yet.
Mad haters.
Yeah, you got a lot of haters out there for it.
Yeah. Really quick, Rome's, is there any love for Planet of the Apes trailer? Absolutely. That trailer was fantastic. I'm a huge Planet of the Apes fan. I really liked the last trilogy they did, which is like War and Rise, I think it was. Yeah, no, I'm excited.
I have a bad experience with War for the Planet of the Apes. I hated that movie.
Really?
I don't know why. I came out of that theater just pissed off. Everyone was like, "Wow, this is like such a good movie," and it just
Is that the final one?
Right. Yeah, that was the one where they had the whole
Lewis
like
they
had a military they had a military base at the bottom of a mountain.
Yeah.
And of a snowy mountain. That makes no sense. Like, it's a military base. And one explosion on there, the whole mountain's having an avalanche.
Sure,
That
but
whole movie,
this is also
nothing in that movie sat right with me. I don't care.
But this is also about apes that are sentient and able to take over the world. So we just need to do that 0.3 positivity, man. That's what we need right now.
I don't know. I mean, I'm all for the 0.3 positivity, obviously, but War for the Planet of the Apes just. I remember I was the one person in my friend group that came out of that movie just pissed off.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. But I don't know. I'm excited for it. I'm pretty sure some people in the chat are. But going back to what you said,
the new one looked good.
It did. Going back to what you said though about the Marvels, I've seen mostly more positive reviews than I have seen negative. I've seen about 2 or 3 negative reviews, and it was from people who clearly either have a problem that is beyond the Marvel's control, to put it in a nice way, or people who just don't know about the MCU. And that New York Post one, I started reading it and then I stopped. It's very clear that whoever wrote that does not care about the MCU and was just they saw Variety and said, "Oh, we're gonna do the same." So the Marvel's hype meter, over or under 5.5? I'm at a 7. No, I'm at a 7.5. 7.5 on the hype meter.
I said 7.5 in Discord the other day, so I'm at B- 7.5, just to fully clarify.
Yeah. Well, hype meter and grade different, right? But that's something we could definitely ask people in the chat. Over. True. Ooh. Where would you put it? Specifically. But in the meantime, right, and this is for everybody in the chat, what is your pre-release grade for the movie? What do you think that this movie is going to be in your head? We asked this question in our Discord, so again, if you're not in there, you're missing out on these awesome conversations. But Spider Brando, what are you putting?
B minus 7.5.
I think I said about a B. 8 to 8.5 for Dylan, and then I believe 8 for Scarlett. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The final trailer did a very good job of generating hype.
Rome's with an 8 out of 10. It's got some good hype to it. Or get some good previews.
Yeah, that's
Hope it
the
lives up
hype.
to our expectations.
That's the hype. And there he is. There's
You,
the man.
you know I couldn't stay out of this
Go
one.
ahead. Give it to us.
I think everyone's got it right. I think an 8, that is solid. And I mean, think about it. We did our tier rankings. We went through and did the entire MCU project ranking, which is going to be releasing to a screen near you very shortly. An 8 is very strong.
Yeah.
Very strong in comparison to a lot of other projects. This is my question for you all. Do we feel better about this because Echo has been pretty successful and because Loki has been really darn good? Like, is it just kind of like that MCU magic is coming back into the fold?
I'd say a little bit.
It definitely has to do with it.
I had to ask that. It feels a little different. It feels a little bit different right now. Hopefully we touch on that here in a little bit with our live stream deep dive.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is that this had me on board, and I think Spider Brando, it had you on board as well. It definitely, I remember you saying how it changed your mind since the first trailer, right?
I was a hater before the first trailer. I'm not gonna lie.
There you go. Rome said it too.
Certified hater. Go back, watch the footage. I destroyed Funko Lou about why this movie was going to be sweeper. When he originally said it was going to be sweeper of the year, I was like, what? And then the first trailer dropped, rescinded every statement. So I'm all aboard the hype train now. And I haven't even seen Miss Marvel, so still excited for it.
Yeah. I've been seeing also a lot of people praise Iman Vellani for her performance. Who will be your Marvel's MVP? Ooh. Lou, who's yours? And Spider Brando, who's yours? While our chat types in their answers.
I'm going with Captain Marvel. As cliche as that is, I think this is her movie to finally shine in. The last, obviously, we got her in Captain Marvel, but that was just kind of like an origin. Endgame was her like introduction to the other MCU members, and she got way too overhyped before Endgame came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this one will be a nice opportunity to fully like dive deeper into her character and all that. And I think that's who my MVP is gonna be.
I like it. I hope she gets like a nice spotlight because I think she needs it for her character. They've displayed her power set pretty cool, I think, but I think they need to make her feel more, a little better, nail her character down. And I think that'll really shoot her into the stratosphere of like good Marvel characters. But Scarlett says Kamala Khan. And saying, but Monica Rambeau is going to have a huge moment, which I also agree with. That is my personal MVP, Kamala. And it's also Lou's MVP. If you guys know Lou, talking to him behind the scenes and everything, he's a huge Kamala fan. And it's not hard to see why. I think she's fantastic. The dynamic that she brings as a character is super cool because she's just us. Like, both as the character and outside of it, she's just a super fan. So hopefully we get some great things out of the Marvels. So
It'll be great to see her on the live or on like in a movie format for the first
Mhm.
time. I did like the first 2 episodes of Miss Marvel's with her and thought that she was definitely an awesome cast for that character in Aman Vellani. So I'm excited to see her on the big screen and going through her story. And I know she's obviously obsessed with Captain Marvel, so it'll be nice to see them two interacting with each other. It'll be like us, how if we were to ever meet one of our favorite superheroes. I think that's a cool dynamic to look forward to.
Oh, for sure. And her enthusiasm is so good, something that Scarlett says, and that's so true. And I mean, you look at what she does as the character, and then also like outside of it, it's just it's so cool to see her enthusiasm, Iman's enthusiasm bleed into both the character and outside of it, for it to go into things like comic books to now where she's like a co-writer on the comic for her.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. And Scarlett makes a good point about Spider-Man being a little depressing. She's a bright fun spot in the MCU, which
it's okay. He's entering his Venom season.
He is. He's getting on that black suit season, which roams though on the thirst train. On the thirst train, we're saying Monica because I have a crush on the actress. Very pretty woman, though. So understandable. All right. What does Spectrum need to do to establish herself as a good character? Or not Spectrum, Photon. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about my internet service. Oh. Here we go.
This has been a hot thought in my head lately, especially from the trailers and watching her specifically of the focal points that they're giving her. One thing that I liked about WandaVision that she brought to the table is her range of acting in a way that's kind of different. But we're kind of going to see a different side that we didn't. I think she's going to round out Captain Marvel and that power set of being very similar to her in a way. But for her, I think she's just going to have like those, like if you think like soccer, those big save moments where you're just like, let's go, like you need a momentum shift kind of moments. I feel like she's going to be that one that's like, this is what we have to do. Aman's too inexperienced and Captain Marvel's in too much mess. Monica's got to be that one who's like even keel, level set.
We are mad. No, very good point, though. Very good point. Spider-Brando, any thoughts on what you want to see from her?
I don't know. I don't really know what to like. I don't know much about Photon's character from the comics or like background on it. So I think from what the trailers show, like what Lou was saying, she does seem like she'll be a great like balancing act between all three characters. Kind of be like, I don't know. I don't really know. I think I'm just looking forward to seeing her do some cool stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that wins a lot of people over nowadays.
Yeah.
When you get to do really cool things and you just show off your power set, which she has a great power set, like being able to manipulate light and all that. I think that's going to be one of those like, oh man, that, when that shows up and if they do it right, it's going to hit really good.
As long as you don't get no Flash level CGI up in this joint. Oh,
let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Hope not.
Lou is asking, who will have the best fight moment? I'm gonna say it's all three of them. I think it's gonna be when they work together.
Yeah, I think they showed it in the trailer, the best fight scene already from like the first trailer of them three kind of like going back and forth with each other's powers against Darben. I think that's probably gonna be the best fight in the movie, just because it's all three of them. Seems like it's towards the end. I don't know. Could be anywhere, but that looks pretty damn well choreographed and epic.
Yeah. Better teamwork, the Marvels or the Eternals? Ooh. I'm gonna have to say Eternals because they have that 1,000 year 1,000 year advantage on them, especially once you got like Makari, Athena. Once you get like the powerhouses of the Eternals in there, you're like, it's it'll be interesting. Rome says Kamala from the trailer, so which let's hope so. Let's hope so. But Spider Brando, any other news before we move on to the deep dive?
So there was a report that the Marvel Cinematic Universe could still adapt the comics Civil War 2 despite the death of Tony Stark / Iron Man. In the comic run, the second Civil War was fought between Iron Man and Captain Marvel. So that would be pretty interesting on who would take up the mantle for the role with no Tony Stark anymore.
Yeah. I saw that report, and it was kind of talking about like what they could possibly do. And they were bringing up how Riri Williams could actually kind of take up the mantle of Iron Man and fill it in. Obviously, if they do adapt a Civil War 2, they would have to change a lot because there's a lot of things that go on in there in terms of like big character deaths and just the central problem that they're fighting over has to deal with like a mutant. And again, since we haven't seen that, it's gonna be one of those kind of different things if they do it.
Maybe it's a post reboot project.
Ooh.
No one knowing what's going on in the new world type thing that causes chaos. Heard it here first.
That could work. That could actually work. Now that you mention that, make it a post reboot. Ooh, I like that. Well,
but there is some other news I'd like to go over.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 4 is rumored to feature Michael Keaton's Vulture. It's pretty interesting considering for those few people who did see Morbius and that post-credit scene. Doesn't really make sense. But I think it's interesting. I've always liked Keaton's Vulture from Homecoming. And thought he was great. One of the best live action Spider-Man villains. But I don't know how. It'll be interesting to see what they do with him. How they tie that storyline back in.
Hero, a quick thing on that is there a current in maybe Rome still, if you're still in here? I know for sure you guys keep up on all things Spider-Man plus comics as well. Is there some sort of gang war storyline or something that's going on now where it's kind of the street level villains are teaming up and you kind of have to get kind of a pseudo hero team against street level that has to band together to stop potentially something we could have in the MCU, a Fisk-led, maybe a Mayor Fisk or something along those lines, a Fisk-led mercenary crew that's really trying to take over and expel heroes from the city? Maybe beyond.
Yeah, they are in the process of setting it up. I think it comes out in about a month or two, that event, Gang War, but they are starting to kind of set the seeds for it. But I do know that there are other events similar to that, like Devil's Reign, which is a very Kingpin Daredevil centered event where it kind of is that same issue, which they could definitely put into the MCU and fit it very well if they put like Echo, was stopping King. Yeah. So, and that's what I mean. You can definitely make him mayor and then make that an event, a big event. That could be your pseudo Avengers movie.
Man, I'd be so down for something like that.
Like a better Defenders, you know?
Yes, exactly. And I really like the Defenders with the crossover. I was invested in those 5. But there's a lot of potential here. If the Echo trailer told us anything, people are fiending for a street level type of storyline with massive consequences. So
Yeah,
that should
and
be
you
cool.
can put Spider-Man into that very well.
Yeah.
Very well. And if they want to somehow tie that in with like Michael Keaton's not Batman, Vulture.
You just broke the internet now.
I did, right?
Rumor.
Yeah, new rumor. Deadpool 3. But they could easily kind of shoehorn him into it, and I think he would still fit perfectly fine. So yeah,
Is it time?
I think it's time. Spider-Man, any other piece you wanted, or
I saw something about Kevin Feige, Scarlett Johansson MCU project is still happening. I believe that report came out earlier today.
okay.
And also supposedly they're making moves to bring back the original 6 Avengers for a future project, and most likely Secret Wars, because what nostalgia bait would be harder than the OG 6 coming back than that?
That's very true.
I'm going to throw my 2 cents in here real quick for those who oppose any original Avengers, or specifically Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson for coming back. We love Loki. Loki is a variant. Loki has been around since phase 1 and has had 2 very, very successful seasons that have fans invested. It's one of those things for me where we're still in uncharted territory when it comes to the MCU, because no one's ever done anything like this. And just when everyone thinks the MCU's dead, they give us a week of just sprinkles and we're just like, we're hooked again. And like, we just got that syringe full of MCU-ness. But listen, these characters can come back. Hero, I know we've talked about it off screen. WrestleMania, you know what I mean? You get a legacy character who people want to see, but I think it's just important to note that I would be very surprised if Kevin Feige and crew leaned so heavily on the legacy characters that they are the ones who solve the issue for the finale of the multiverse saga. So I think it's a good thing. Before everyone moves on, Robert Downey Jr. by 2030 is going to be hecka old. So let's get this man back in his CGI suit one more time.
Yeah.
All for it.
Yeah. I think that would be great. He said that was never addressed in the retreat, like the report said. Yeah. And I do kind of figure that's a newer thing. I think so from what I saw, Rooms, he did say basically like never say never type of thing. He didn't say no, but he didn't say yes either.
We'll have to see.
If the money is right, guys. If the money is right. You think Secret Wars isn't going to be $1 billion, $2 billion plus movie? Like Robert Downey Jr. can get a slice of that for a cameo.
Yeah. And so let's be honest, like they don't need that much. I'm sure they would do it out just because they want to, I think just right now it's not on the cards because they're also just not going to tell you, in the same way that they didn't tell you Tom, Toby, and Andrew are going to be in the same movie. They're not going to tell you that outright. They're going to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was a great news segment. Everybody, before we jump in, again, if you haven't subscribed to us here, join our social medias, join our Discord, because in the Discord, we have started talking about this many times up and down, right? But the current state of the MCU, again, if you were on TikTok, Instagram, just the internet in general, since Wednesday of last week, everybody and their mother was saying the same exact phrase to start their videos. The MCU is in shambles.
Oh.
Nobody was original. Everybody said it because that was the popular thing to say. Mainly, this came forth because there was an article that Variety made. Essentially, that was a hit piece of sorts, talking about some of the troubles that have been plaguing Marvel, some of which are very valid, some of which are not so valid, and then some that are kind of downright lies. So at the end of this, At the end of this live, we are going to ask that question. Is the MCU in trouble? But what we're going to do is we're going to present to you basically what's been going on with the MCU. What has worked, what really hasn't worked, and the things that we're going to see next and the things that we want to see. And then we can all answer together. Is it really in shambles? That's going to be the big question. Is it in trouble? Are they done for? So to start us off, what has worked? And Lou, you are normally someone who's, along with me, Spider-Brando, who's very positive when it comes to the MCU. So what are some of the things that have worked, particularly phase 4, phase 5?
I mean, I think phase 4 and phase 5, you had an expansion of roster. You had more characters fit in, interesting characters, diversity with characters, but not just what we saw on screen, but diversity from an actor standpoint, director, writer, the scripts that were coming through. You see reports all the time where it's coming from a very personal place. And I'll cite She-Hulk from that standpoint. A lot of things that we saw Jennifer and She-Hulk go through, the people who are part of the project, these are real life scenarios that they applied to this character. And that's a lot of what made it really relatable. But to be honest with you, one of the biggest things that I would say the MCU's done well, and they kind of really always have, is a showcasing of powers. For as much as people say the visual effects, CGI, and all that, I don't know many other live action franchises who have given us such a diverse power set on display. And I hear we were talking about this earlier, and Brandon, we've talked about this too since 2 years ago the Eternals came out. That's a multiverse saga project that's a couple years old, but it still to this day has some of the best speed and power characters that we have ever seen on screen, whether it's MCU, DCEU, Amazon, it doesn't matter. They really do things very well when it comes to making their characters feel super. Last thing I'll throw out here, and I know people don't necessarily love this, but I will say a strength in what has worked are a lot of storylines, not one through storyline, but the storylines for these individual characters to really push characters first and then being super next. And I think the best example of that is Miss Marvel, Monica Rambeau, even Captain Marvel in a way. You can't have a movie of this runtime and explain all these backstories and all these power sets and all these things. There's just not enough time. There had to have been something prior to this that made it really strong and successful, so you know who's on screen. That's a few things for me.
Yeah. No, that power set one is it's always one that resonates with me, because again, part of the big thing that when you have superheroes is you want to see that too. And it's always odd to me sometimes when people criticize like comics, movies, and video games sometimes, when they're like, it focuses too much on the action, and they use that as a critique. And I'm like, but is that not what the at the core what we want to see? You know, like if I'm playing Spider-Man, I want to swing and I want to zip a guy up, bounce him off the floor, swing kick him, web him up, throw him to the other side of the room. I want to do that. And okay, if the story's not that great, all right. But if I want, that's what I want to see. And the same thing with movies. I get the storyline aspect, and I do agree with you. There's a lot of great ones, but it's undeniable. When it comes to the fight scenes, again, Eternals, that fight on the beach against Icarus between Makari and Phastos. That's one of the coolest, like Phastos technology is better than any other tech we've seen in the MCU. Let's be honest. Bar none.
I think that's hard to argue.
And then let's be honest. Are we ever going to forget how we felt during the hallway scene of Guardians 3?
No. In a weird way, I feel like people kind of have.
I agree.
But when you bring it up, it's just like, oh my gosh. That was amazing. It was.
Dude, I get literally every time I bring it up, goosebumps. it's one of the coolest scenes in any movie, not just like Marvel. It's one of the best fight scenes in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
And
was Chef's Kiss.
Chef's Kiss.
You
Spider-Man. Do you certify it? Do you certify it?
Heck yeah, I certify it.
Throw it up. Throw it up. There you go. And then the funny thing is, Shang-Chi is in there too, because that whole movie is just, it's a kung fu movie in the style of Marvel.
I'm
That movie
gonna
is amazing.
I'm gonna throw this out here really quick too, because I know we like to talk about the MCU. It's fun to talk about the MCU. It's fun to defend and attack everything. It's just, it is. But one thing that I think people don't take into consideration with the MCU and saying it's in shambles, it would be really hard for me to say it definitely, and I know in my gut that it's in shambles, because the MCU has catapulted more niche franchises such as The Boys, such as Invincible, such as the DCEU and the future DCU. Everyone, you go through and they're saying, listen, although we try to be different from the MCU, we don't try to be for kids. You know, Amazon Prime, it has more mature projects, especially if you've watched The Boys. Like, there's not a chance I'm letting my kids watch that. And Invincible, if you've seen Omni-Man's DLC and you've seen some trailers for his fatalities and his moveset, that was almost plucked directly from Invincible. Yeah, definitely not letting many people watch that. But still, at the same time, you probably don't have the success of these shows, because how many times do people say, well, it's different from Marvel, so I'm going to go find it. I'm going to go find something different from Marvel because I know who Marvel is, and I don't want that because I want to be different. Or like we were saying with Eternals, oh, that's really cool. There's a team up. I like the power sets. Oh, the Justice League kind of reminds me of them in a way. That's really cool. I think I like them. Blah, 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 blah. It's just helped open doors for a lot of other live action franchises too.
Yeah, 100%. And Rome's agreed with what you're saying. Like, it's just the blending of styles. And the funny thing is, that was a very good point, Lou. They even have catapulted their own niche within their own universe, where you get things like She-Hulk, you get things like Moon Knight, you get things like Werewolf by Night, because admittedly, those are very... The what?
The Wanda stands.
The Wanda stands,
honestly, yeah.
Yeah, because before, people liked Scarlet Witch, but it wasn't to the level of where she is now. They've catapulted these niches and characters that people now love. I mean, look at how many people love Moon Knight, genuinely. Like Dylan said, look at how many people liked Werewolf by Night so much. They were like, let's do it again in color. And people were hype.
Spider-Brander, real quick, touch on Guardians, because I know when we did our MCU rankings, no spoiler, but Guardians 1, 2, and 3, for us as a consensus, they're fairly high. We've talked about it kind of at length before, especially for the trilogy rankings and the Guardians 3 review. Guardians are pretty niche. Nobody was talking about them.
I had no idea who they were before I watched Guardians 1. And I believe I had Guardians 1 and 3 in my personal top 10. Might have even top 5. No, not both of them were top 5. One of them was top 5. I know that. But I love that movie. Like, what Marvel was able to do and throw just a ragtag team of space people that not many people besides huge comic fans knew, and make a very profitable and amazing trilogy out of. Chef's Kiss. It's just, they've really broke into the characters of each one, had a great storyline for each one, and they even put them in confrontation with other people within the MCU, and it just, everything worked out pretty well. So stuff like that from Marvel that we love to see. Guardians always has a place in my heart. I don't think I saw 1 in theaters, but when I did see it, I was like, "Wow, I wish I saw this movie sooner." And then 2 came out, I saw that shit in theaters for free. Mantis rock scene, or when Mantis got hit with a rock, I will never forget my theater experience for that, because I was dying of laughter for, like, 20 minutes, and both of my friends were just like, "Shut up already, like, just stop, like, the scene is over, just stop laughing." But
No.
it I don't know, it was just an unexpected moment, and you could say the Guardians came in at, like, an unexpected time into the MCU.
Yeah. I mean, you even look at Rocket, because let's be honest, Rocket was a main character, but he wasn't the focal. He never felt like the focal of Guardians until the third one, and now people love him. Now people love him.
Mhm.
But how many appearances was that? You know what I mean? Like that,
Exactly.
it's not like it was just 1, 2, 3, nothing else happened. That spanned across a fair amount of time. And that's why that, coupled with what we've gotten in the last couple weeks, I don't know how you can really say like there's a lot that's not working in Marvel, because they can pivot so quickly and just introduce something that pulls all these characters back together and generates massive amounts of interest very quickly. But that is not to say that there are things that aren't working.
For sure. Spider Brando, for you, what's something that hasn't worked?
Mm.
The villains.
They need better
very few.
planning,
Uh-huh.
like, when it comes to release scheduling. What they're doing right now with Loki and the Marvels is, like, amazing. When it comes to, like, back-to-back projects that may connect with one each other to the greater MCU. Granted, they've had a lot of obstacles with COVID and the writer's strike the last couple years that kinda hindered a lot of their, like, subsequent plannings for releasing with one another. Um, but, like, they could do better. Like, we've seen it's been 2 years since Shang-Chi has come out. There's been 16 projects since his debut, and he hasn't been mentioned once. It's crazy to think that there's been 16 projects in the span of 2 years. Um, but still, like, you would think, or same with Eternals. It's been 2 years since they came out, like, almost to this day, and we've had pretty much no mention of them. So, that's been one of my gripes with the connectivity, but I know it's a short-term one, and the long term, it will pay off once they get growing more. Um, that's been my main gripe with the last couple phases, or with the last 2 phases, I guess. But
Yeah.
we're looking up now, especially if that strike's over.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Lou, what about you?
Oh, I mean, I agree with Scarlett's comment. The villains, very few notable and memorable ones. I mean, when you look at Thanos and the golden age of the MCU that everyone always points back to, Thanos. When you look at Shang-Chi, successful villain in terms of Wenwu. Ragnarok, Hela. Winter Soldier, Cap 2, Winter Soldier. You know, so you have a lot of these movies that need a strong antagonist and obviously a protagonist to carry them. But for the MCU, you do need that through line that you need to reference. And again, we've mentioned this before. It's like I think Fabian may have said it. So you kind of stole my thunder there. Appreciate you, man. But post-credit scenes have not been exciting for a while. Massive issue.
Yep.
And maybe that's something that we get fixed here in the next few days. But just those little breadcrumbs to get the fans back in. Namor, great villain for Wakanda Forever. Huge reason why I have Wakanda Forever so high. But if you think of something even like a Wakanda Forever, they had that continuity and they pulled in and really added and built upon what the first one did, right? Introduce, expand, make it interesting, make it creative, and then leave something nice for someone to pick up, which they did at the end of the movie. There's some great, you can call them loose ends, But they make sense. They're logical in the next director or showrunner, whoever it might be. But to that point, with a showrunner standpoint, I know the DCU is doing it. James Gunn has been on the record saying there's going to be some sort of DCU Bible, some sort of path that they're always going to walk down. So when the next person comes in, they know what's coming. They know it's going to be next. It doesn't seem like Feige has his fingers all over these projects. They feel disconnected. It feels like someone up the chain is really saying like, no.
Mhm.
And that is what's not working for me. It just feels like there's a disconnect from top to bottom. And they got to get back on that page, because when they do, that's when you get a post-credit scene where you have Bucky getting captured by Sam and Cap, and that pays off in a future movie down the road.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of their problems, I think a lot, while there is things like the continuity, like the visuals, like the post-credit scenes, the other stuff I think can very much be boiled down to very real world problems that are out of their control. And everybody's talked about it at length, and I know we're probably tired of hearing it. But it is true. COVID was such an impact on how people viewed movies, consumed media, and honestly, how these things were supposed to be produced. Because by now, we should be in the thick of phase. We should be towards the tail end of phase 5, and we're like just now starting, But again, that isn't the fault of Marvel. That's just something that is completely out of their control. And then you look at things like what's going on with the writer strike. Yes, now it's done, but the Marvels does suffer from it still. And we're not saying that the actors shouldn't be paid what. No, absolutely, that should be the biggest and first and foremost thing. But that still impacts the movie, because the actors don't get to promote it. When you don't get to see the actor promoting and talking about their movie, you kind of forget that, it's there. For example, having Samuel L. Jackson talk about Secret Invasion, that would have done huge things for Secret Invasion, but you don't get that. It just has to be carried by his name. And honestly, even though Samuel L. Jackson's a legendary actor, not everybody pays attention to what he does all the time.
Yeah.
Then you get things like, real world allegations. You get things like the fandom being, to be quite honest, toxic at times. You get things like the Variety article, which is just meant to stoke the fire this week and be like, the sky is falling, when is it in reality? But because people see that and they run with it.
Here's a quick question I have, because I know you'd mentioned the allegations piece. Jonathan Majors, no secret there. Kang obviously has been positioned as a potential big bad for this saga. I think, going into Quantumania, we thought for sure. Now coming out on the heels of Loki, we're like, is it possible? And you have the Doom rumors and all those types of things. I think that is kind of something that hasn't worked for me. Is I don't believe that Marvel will ever make the tough call and pivot hard. I definitely, they have a plan for sure, but when do you? And maybe they have, and we just don't know, right? They've done some things where we're just like, oh, that was a good call. Maybe the Marvel Spotlight thing is something along those lines, where they picked up the red phone and they're just like, we have to do something now, potentially. But from a character shakeup standpoint, I look at like a Loki, for example. It's kind of been my gripe with the show. And again, I'm cautiously optimistic it's going to be a great finale and final episode. But you have the blueprint to really make changes and kind of send greater shockwaves through the greater MCU. Fantastic solo project, but from a greater MCU that's lacking a storyline for years now, why not take some of that massive budget and pepper in some of these things that really hundreds of thousands of millions of fans have been talking about? It's not hard to find. That's what's not working for me. Just that sign that, like, we hear you type of thing. I feel like it's just not enough yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I would say the last big problem that they have, or not necessarily problem, but just kind of what hasn't worked. And this boils down to many different reasons, both real world and then just continuity and story wise. There has not been aces within the MCU. And when we talk about aces, it's basically a wrestling term that me and Lou always talk about. But it's basically, who is your face of the MCU? And if you think about it, no, there is not anybody right now. And again, we do know that one big reason is the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. Definitely felt like, and it's been kind of confirmed through many reports, that he was supposed to be the face. And I think it would have been a great lead, honestly. But, you know, he passed away. And I think they're still reeling, trying to figure out who they want it to be. And I don't think they know quite yet who they want it to be.
I don't think that they'll have someone, to be honest with you, over the course of the next 4 years. By the time we get to Secret Wars, I still don't believe that we're going to have someone who feels like an ace. I think Sam Wilson's going to step into that role and will be positioned as the ace of the MCU. I don't think people are going to buy it. Personally, I've never been a huge Falcon fan, and I didn't really love Falcon and Winter Soldier. So for me, if that's the case, great. But I think Fabian has a fairly decent point here. If that is the case, right, Sam should have been popping up in everyone's projects by now.
Mm-hmm.
If they start to do that post Brave New World, I think it's too little too late from that standpoint. And this is where I feel like people are on the fence, where there's a little bit of underlying anger when it comes to, we know legacy characters are coming back, but if a Toby comes back, instant ace. Hugh, you know what I mean? Deadpool, those are instant aces. But it's just like, why do we got to bring in the old school people to save the MCU? And we do have a fair amount of characters that are fresh. I got to go out on a limb here and say Doctor Strange is not an ace, in my opinion. He's powerful enough to be. I don't know. Spider-Man, you might feel differently here.
Yeah. I was going to say, let's hear Spider-Man, because this is a character that he loves and holds dear to his heart.
Love me some Strange. As I look up at the Doctor Strange 1 poster. I'd say he kind of, he's a weird ace, just because he literally can go like anywhere at any time, but then just chooses not to, because he has his own stuff that he's got to keep track of. He's in a weird gray area for me, if that makes sense. Like, let's see, Rome says Doctor Strange should have been an ace if they did better with him, especially with him being connected more to the storyline in the comics with multiverse stuff. I think that's where I was going to go with that too, because it's like we've seen him appear a lot, especially like he has 2 solo movies, but he's been in like 6 to 8 projects, I believe. So he's been around, but I don't know. I think we still have a lot to see left of him going forward too. But I wouldn't put him as like a true, like he's the ace and like the face of the MCU at the moment.
He could have been. They did a disservice to him in 2 ways. The fact I hate bringing up wrestling, but I swear this is the easiest way for me to have an analogy, right? I feel like Spider-Man kicked out of his finisher when Spider-Man was able to move, when he was astral projecting and that kind of stuff. And he's like, whoa. And he's like, what are you doing? And he's just like, oh, I can figure you out. It's math. You're just math. That's all you are. And he really bested Doctor Strange, although it was for a little bit of time. He kind of did. And then you have Multiverse of Madness, and Wanda was just so much more powerful than he was in that movie, that I never feel like, if it comes down to it and there's only one Avenger left, am I picking Doctor Strange to save the day? I'll be like, well, I kind of don't have a choice because you're the only one left, but you wouldn't be my first. That's where I kind of come from lately, is there's two that got him. And if the villain is big enough and strong enough and bad enough, I don't know if he can do it on his own.
The Spider-Man one I can forgive, but for me, it every time I think of why isn't he the ace, I definitely think back to Multiverse of Madness, and I think he is like kissing ace status, like he is right there. And Multiverse of Madness should have pushed him over that edge. Like honestly, he should have been the one to beat Wanda. And if they made it to where at the end when he does the dream walking and goes into the other Strange and he beats her with that, he's your ace. That's when he became your ace. But he didn't, and he couldn't, you know? When you're able to pull off something that crazy out of your pocket, you know, that's when people are like, nah, he can save the day. He can do it. But at the end, he really didn't.
If this is my third piece and you beat me to it in a way, if they would have weaved in What If, that Strange is an ace. But he's really kind of non-canon and non-factor at this point. But that one felt like a massive problem. Maybe we get that with old Third Eye here, you know, in Strange 3 when that comes out or whatever it might be. Dill swap Strange for Wong, semi-face of Phase 4. He is an MVP, but he felt like kind of like the sidekick MVP popping up where he could. I like him more as like that mentor role versus being the guy who's going to be the showstopper.
Comparing it to basketball, he's the sixth man of the year. And that's not a bad thing at all.
That's fair.
But he's the sixth man
of
the year. But I think we've hit all the things that haven't worked. So compared to the things that has worked, what hasn't worked, there's one more part that we want to run through really quick with you guys. And that's the things that we're going to see next. The confirmed things, not the, oh, this is my big brain theory. No, this is the things we know, which includes things like we're going to get mature ratings for shows. We know that, excuse me, Echo getting TVMA, Deadpool R, Blade R, I think Marvel Zombies is TVMA, right? So we know we're getting that. We know we're getting Avengers movies, you know, big event movies. We're getting those crossovers. You know, hopefully we get them soon. You know, hopefully we get that within Loki tomorrow and the Marvels, you know. We're going to keep getting new characters, which I always think is exciting because that's what keeps the MCU fresh.
Yeah. Spider Rando, on those things, what sticks out to you most in terms of like when you hear that list? What is that one trigger where you're like, that gets me excited about the MCU?
Spider-Man 4. I'm kidding. I'm most excited for Daredevil. Just to see, like, just obviously I'm excited for Echo and like what's to come in the next couple months, but I think like in the future, I think I'm most excited for Daredevil. Just because season 1 and 2 and 3 of the Netflix, like all of the Netflix Daredevil, so good and such like a different take on the superhero genre shows at the time it came out. So I'm excited to see how it gets Disney Plusified, and especially all these reshoots or reworks that they're gonna do to it. That and Deadpool 3 are like Fabian said, are probably my favorite or the most projects I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
We have some good stuff in the chat. We're gonna roll up. We'll run through them real quick and then drop our thoughts before we wrap up our live. But yeah, Deadpool 3 being the safest bet, and there's a really good chance it could exceed expectations. Especially, I think the thing that was really great with this is that everyone knew that this is going to be R, right? They confirmed that they were carrying over that Deadpoolness, but the fact that it's not going to be the first thing we see that's mature R-rated, I think bodes really well for this to feel different, and people are like, what are they gonna do with this? Although it could be very much just like how 1 and 2 were. It can give people something, more to chew on that's going to feel included in the MCU versus feeling like a massive standout and like it's an outlier. But Dill has a good point too, for things to start connecting big or small instead of not at all. I'm going to second that one. What do you guys think on that?
I do like that. There's another thing that I'm more excited for. However, that is something that it'll be the payoff for people to stop talking about it. It'll have to make people really think about why certain projects are good or not good. Instead of just being like, well, it doesn't connect, therefore it sucks. So
yeah. Rome.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, from even what I brought up earlier, one of my biggest gripes with the phases was stuff not really connecting or taking a while to connect. So that's another thing I'm looking forward to.
For me, it's kind of a combination of all of these 3 things that have shown up to start building that like bubble and that build and kind of that volcano effect of like, when we get that final crossover, that next big crossover movie or something that just feels much larger in scale than a kind of a solo film. This is a really good example of that too, is like Rome said, Street Heroes a return, small, contained, personal stories starting with Echo. Start building these blocks, but have them literally be on if you're going to go through New York, you can't have Spider-Man web sling. And I know they did the Hawkeye thing after he's in his homemade suit when he swung over the Christmas tree and kind of that whole thing. It's like, that's cool, but Hawkeye knows about Fisk. Fisk knows Echo. Spider-Man's in the same area as them. Then we get Daredevil. He's his lawyer. Like all that kind of stuff. Like someone has to acknowledge and be like, hey, while you were fighting Kraven, I had to deal with Venom and he was dealing with Vulture and they were dealing with the multiverse and they were doing that. Like, that's why we didn't show up. There has to be some additional explanation. I know it's a show versus tell type of thing, but I do think that there is something to be said about telling before the MCU is on the same page with all these external things removed. Start building up and use those words, use those points, start building in what we've been talking about of post-credit scenes and just throw those little things in small and just let them stack. So when you do pull the rug out, we're all like, dang, this might be better than phase 3. That's what I'm waiting for next. And I think it starts right here. Small, contained, build your pockets out, start building for that eruption event and take your billions and go home happy. I don't know.
Yeah. For me, it's that characters, man. Characters. Because honestly, characters are what makes every story, everything go round. And I think about it in terms of like fighting games. What brings you back? The new characters. You can get a game on launch, but what brings you back? The DLC characters. Because you want to see them and you want to see if they interact, if it's a game where they interact, how do they interact with each other? Marvel's that. They interact, man. And it's exciting to think what those characters can do. I just think about like if Moon Knight ever meets up with Daredevil or not Daredevil, Deadpool or something. A Daredevil cross would be sick. But just think about how funny it would be if they're in the middle of a fight. He changes from Mark to Jake or Steven. And Deadpool's just like, what in the world? Like, I think that would be hilarious, but still really cool.
Oh, just imagine that Deadpool says the wrong thing, but he's talking to Jake.
That'd be so funny.
You said what?
Yeah.
Bam.
Oh. My all-time dream character trio on the screen has always been a Daredevil, Spider-Man, Deadpool team up. I will give the ultimate chef's kiss certify and pay anybody my life savings to see that one day.
Yeah. And I mean, Wolverine coming out, it's like the characters, man, they just get you excited. And I just want to see them all. Bring them all.
There's too much left on the table for the MCU to be dead. There just is. There's too many possibilities for this. If they ultimately go through a reboot, that opens up brand new possibilities for them to tell us stories that haven't been told because they couldn't tell them. Until that happens, the MCU is not going to be dead. There's still endless possibilities for them. It's just, do we have the patience to stick around and see it through?
Yep.
And when you have weeks like this, where you have the Echo Mature announcement, Marvel Spotlight, Loki on Disney Plus, the Marvels, your post-credit scenes, your mid-credit scenes, all of these things that people have been asking for, and you drop them, and it's like, boom, you know what I mean? Like Rhodey in Age of Ultron. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Looking for this?
yeah. That's what I feel like. That's what I feel like Marvel Studios is doing right now, and they're all going to be just this barbecue fest this weekend.
Yes. And mind you, one big thing that I want to say really quick about what you just said, this is not in response to any articles that came out. This is all planned stuff. Those announcements were not done just because Variety put out an article. This was not done because some dummy on the internet said that the Marvels is going to suck because it's not coming out. No, they planned this. So, just so you know. So before we end it, gents, we have to ask, giving a definitive answer. Is the MCU in shambles?
Nope.
I gotta say no. I gotta say no.
The Marvels and Loki 2 or Loki finale flops, and maybe yes.
I would be very surprised if on Monday we're recording our review episode and we were like, dog, why did we film that Wednesday live stream? Like we look like absolute idiots, and the entire internet and world can see that. No, I just I'm gonna throw this out here. Secret Invasion shook me a little bit. I was like, what are you guys doing? But now that the external things are finally calming down, the foundation's still strong enough. We'll see what comes next. God knows every year something pops up. We'll see. And then remember this in 2031 when Secret Wars, we're getting our tickets. So
2031, that's so far. It better not take that
guys,
long.
the movie's not coming out in 4 years. There's no way we're getting that movie in 4 years. It's disgusting. No. It's not happening.
It's 5 to 6. Easy.
And by that point, we're going to say, what's going to be better? The new Justice League movie or Josh Whedon's Justice League? I wonder what he'll be doing by that point. I don't know. Anyways.
Hopefully not touching superhero movies.
Crazier things have happened.
Very true.
But listen, everyone, we appreciate each and every single one of you for joining us, for watching, for listening, for interacting in the chat. If you're watching this and it's pre-recorded, feel free to jump in on Wednesday, where we're doing another live stream. We're probably going to give you some reactions to what a crazy end of the week it's going to be. But again, we have a lot going on, right? Loki season finale is coming up. We have a watch party in Discord. Marvel's obviously, that's going to be a multi-watch for some of us. I probably will be on that bandwagon. Invincible. If you have not watched Invincible, go check out our preview episode. And we are having season 2, episode 1 review drop here on Friday. There's tons of stuff going on. So we love to talk about it. Join Discord. Sorry to hype and plug everything that we do, but we want to hear from you all. So definitely swing on over to our social media channel. But with that, everyone, if you're watching Loki finale this week, drop a comment. What'd you think? What did you like? What are you expecting? Let us know your thoughts over at Point3Podcast, anywhere that you are on socials. Listen to us anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. And with that, everyone, keep watching, keep reading, and keep nerding out. We will see you in the next one.